Hello and welcome to Media in Mind. We have another exciting and intuitive episode today. Come on into the media booth, sit back and listen, relax, and follow along as we bring you all the hot and trending topics in multimedia.
We are recording in the IMAX studio in the Lone Star College-Tomball campus. Our producer Monty Darlin overseeing our project as well as giving us the tools we need to create this series. Welcome back to those who have been following our podcast. It's great to have you following along. For those who are new, we have now just discovered our podcast. Welcome. We encourage you to stick around and listen. We have a great lineup for you today. Great guest appearance, and we get to hear our lovely voices.
My voice being extraordinarily lovely. Just for the record. I just want to make that clear.
Let's get our introductions in order. I am your host, Robert Abel.
And I'm the co-host, Stephen Romero.
And in today's episode, we are actually on episode 3. We've already got 3 under our belt. And today we were going to be talking about low-end budget video editing software. Or basically software that you're able to access on the go. Express versions. Basically a beginner's video editing software. Wherever we began, we were able to use these free softwares to help us get to where we are instead of using these over $500 video editing softwares.
These kinds of programs usually get a bad rap because of how simplified and streamlined they are, but especially with the ones that we use here at Multimedia, it's a great way to either get started or just make a quick project, whereas if you're using something like Premiere or Sony Vegas, it would take about 20 minutes to do something, like just putting it together. But using something like Camtasia, where it's built for that specific kind of purpose, it's just easier and it's quicker and a little bit more efficient. Not everybody in the multimedia services department started out with just Premiere or something extremely high-end. For example, I actually started out with Windows Movie Maker. That's originally how I found my passion for video editing, through something that literally came with my crappy Dell Optiplex that wasn't even technically mine, because I would always hijack my sister's Windows Vista computer to access it.
Man, the Windows Movie Maker was my first one too.
Really now?
I remember, it's like right down the middle. It's like, I remember my very first. It came default with the Dell PC computer that had the best graphics card in the world, which was just Intel Gaming.
I think I had an NVIDIA. I don't know why, but my parents overspent on my sister's computer, so it was actually like higher end than the home computer that we had. With a mixture of my computer incompetence and my sister's computer incompetence, there were some viruses that were on hers, so it wasn't viruses, it was just bloatware. So
did she download Linkin Park Numb from LimeWire?
Linkin Park Numb .mp3.exe. I actually started out making little videos on Roblox. Do you know what Roblox is?
I do know what Roblox is.
It started out like the most innocent little thing, like back in like the 2000s, like the late 2000s, like 2008, 2009, when I started. And it came with this like built-in like little recorder, so I would record that, and then I would record my voice as a back end, and then put that together and just throw it onto YouTube. I actually have some of the videos somewhere inside my old laptop.
It's somewhere archived.
Archived.
In the ancient logs.
Where it deserves to stay, because they're terrible.
For me, I basically used Windows Movie Maker, and then I remember getting a low end, because it was $50 at like Best Buy, but it was like Magix Studios.
Oh.
And so I used a mixture of that with even using a trial version that I kept re-downloading of Adobe Flash. And my very first videos were like I took like this cheap, very old video camera that was like, when it was like brand spanking new, it's like you can actually download it to your computer instead of using like tape or CDs. And so
you tape your camcorder onto the computer.
You tape it on there
using duct tape.
So me and my friends would make lightsaber videos. Like we do lightsaber fights. So what I do is I take it off of the camera, put it onto Adobe Flash, and edit on Adobe Flash there. And from there, after I exported from Adobe Flash, I moved all of like the post-editing onto Windows Movie Maker. And then I had my finished product that I put on YouTube, and hopefully it like stays hidden, because when I'm looking back at it, I was like, wow. I have definitely gone far in my editing.
Like that's one of the things that I love doing is like, so I have an archives project, right? I'm not going to tell you what it's called because it's so god-awful, and it will probably never get me hired on any job in multimedia ever if anybody ever found out that it was me. But I moved from Windows Movie Maker onto another program called Sony Vegas that I got off of a friend. I would just freelance, like, make random crap, and as I continued making this random crap, I noticed that I was getting, slowly better and better and better and better until I got to the peak of my abilities with that kind of software. Thing is, whenever I first went into multimedia services, which is why I love this place so much, like so deeply in my heart, because of the lessons that I learned through here, my workflow has improved dramatically, and my end products have improved like dramatically. Like, have you ever worked on a project and you're just thinking, oh, it's just a little short of like what you wanted it to be? That doesn't happen to me as much anymore.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
So we can, like, we have like our beginning software, but what are our current favorite like low end budget like free video editing software? Because as for me, I know I've discussed it quite a bit, and it's HitFilm, which is basically Adobe Premiere and Adobe After Effects smacked into one. You can actually buy stuff to upgrade, or like how in gaming, like pay to win to like get extra software, but they're relatively well priced, like around $50. But like if you just want the bare minimum, like great exporting, great transitions, great color grading, then HitFilm is perfect. I've used HitFilm quite a bit for my like video let's plays, even some of my current like YouTube, and I get a little bit better that I learned from HitFilm over to After Effects and Premiere Pro.
My current free software choice is DaVinci Resolve, because there is actually a free version, which kind of works like HitFilm, which I haven't personally used very much. I dabbled in it, but it was very unstable on the system that I had at the time.
Oh, so. Yeah, it does soak up a lot of RAM.
Yeah,
like if you have the RAM, it is like the Adobe products. You have to have RAM.
You have to RAM for days. But I went from that to DaVinci Resolve, and the color grading options that you have on just the free version, right? They're so smack-dabbing magical. And it's free. And DaVinci Resolve is also extremely easy to use, and you can use a lot of that knowledge to transition over to Adobe Premiere. And apparently, I didn't know about this, but there's another piece of software that acts kind of like After Effects called DaVinci Fusion.
Yeah.
Which is compositing and motion tracking software. And that's also free. So, getting started with video editing and being on a platform where you can transition into the Adobe Creative Cloud suite of products and not have to spend a dime in that transitional period, it's easier now than ever. And I think that's really cool.
So that's pretty cool. Like you push a little button for DaVinci Resolve, and then the ghost of DaVinci comes down, hops into your electronics, and he's like, "Don't worry, I will fix your computer.
I will paint all over your computer.
I will fix your color grading. Look at it; it's too sepia here. We need to add more. Why am I giving him I'm giving him an Austrian voice."
Why does Leonardo? Isn't Leonardo da Vinci like French or something?
He's Italian.
He's Italian? Oh, okay.
Da Vinci.
And if he doesn't like you, he'll throw a meatball at your computer.
He'll throw a meatball at your computer. He's like, go back to the beginning.
Go back to the beginning. No.
Really? So we're talking about like low end budgets, and so that usually like when I say low end, like free, like you get to find like little workarounds, and like I like to call it tricks of the trade, where it's like we MacGyver our projects. So like we're able to like look at programs. It's like if you pay $700, you're able to do all this magnificent stuff. Not every one of us has $700 in our pocket. Let's just be realistic.
I totally don't.
So we're gonna like I guess what we can talk about is like crafty ways of obtaining media. Like if you want to record audio from both, like say we're talking on a microphone right now, and we want to talk to someone that like all the way to New York. There'd be paid programs that like you can record Skype, Discord, or whatever whatever programs you use to capture off of your computer. What I like to do is like there's this like little trick that me and my friend do for our Let's Plays is we use this program called OBS, which is Original Broadcast Software, and it's free, by the way. And there's a lot you can do with it. So what I like to do is like I like to bring up Discord. And if you set on your audio where you can record both the input and the output, we are able to get our audio off of this. It doesn't record videos, it doesn't record audio. It records video. So once I was able to get our audio or that video off of OBS, I just basically take that video with the audio, and it sounds perfect. I just unlink it, and then I'm able to delete the video and have the audio, if that makes sense. So have you used multimedia programs for your projects, like for school or for work? Like that's not like multimedia related.
I'm currently in the process of editing videos for another student that comes here called Kimberly Wilson. I'm the back end editor of her uh, YouTube channel. All right, so what do you do, like outside of the multimedia services?
So for me, I do use YouTube. I do edit and upload videos probably like once or twice a month. Um, but other than that, like back like before, like when school, and I'm pretty sure I discussed it before in some of the previous podcasts, like in high school, even junior high, like that's where I was like budding as to be a multimedia like video editor, videographer. Like I remember I did stop animation of Legos for a history gladiator project. I passed that with flying colors. I remember in English, like I was like sitting in front of this bonfire that I made, and I was like talking about Horatio or like the Odyssey. I'm trying, actually trying to remember the project. I just remember I did a video for it. So actually, wait a minute. Speaking about like school and colleges, isn't it finals week?
Oh,
like in the middle of
shoot! No, I think it is. Well, gotta go study for finals. Yeah.
Good luck. Have fun. Don't stress. Alrighty, so I'm going to introduce my special guest here on Media Mind. Without further introductions, this is Dr. Patrick Gilbert. Welcome, Dr. Patrick Gilbert. Welcome onto Media Mind. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Of course, thanks, Rob, for having me. So I'm Patrick Gilbert, and I am a professor of political science here at Lone Star College-Tomball, and I'm also heavily involved with the Center for Civic Engagement.
Yeah, you've used the IMAX studios. You use the multimedia services here at LSC Tomball. So what has the multimedia service done for you? Like what is the different projects you've had?
Well, multimedia service has done a lot, to be honest with you. But for me specifically, I've used it for my classes. Last semester, we observed 50 years since the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so I had my students to do a video project over Dr. King. And we also had a race summit and multimedia services. They came and they recorded videos and they edited it for us. And we now have civic engagement media probably since the fall of last year. And I've done interviews here in the studio. I've been here in the sound booth, and I'm just getting started.
So for your civic engagement media and also for your classroom, do your students use anything? Do you like implement into your classrooms?
Yeah, so last semester was the first time that I had assigned my students to do something with the multimedia services. And what they did was they looked up different parts of the civil rights movement. They looked up Dr. King's life. They looked up April 4th, 1968. And they looked up different components that dealt with the whole civil rights movement. And what they had to do was conduct the research and come up with PowerPoint, and then they came here to multimedia services to make it into a video.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out to be some very good projects. I was very impressed with the students.
Have they used the one button studio? Any of them?
They have not yet.
Okay.
Not yet, but it's coming.
In our previous episode, we've talked a little bit about VR also being implemented into LSC Tomball. Do you think your students would be able to implement their work into that?
I would love for them to do VR, and I've been working with Professor Friesen to try and figure that out. Seeing as where I teach government, I would love to find VR. He has the VR goggles, right? And I would love to find some VR material about whether it's the First Amendment, people participating in a rally, or what it's like to go and vote, just simple things like that students can put it on and say, hey, I didn't know it was like this, or even something as simple as going to the United States Capitol. I would love for them to be able to do that, but I just haven't found anything yet.
Yeah, I know, like, help using those VRs help, like, getting, like, standing up in front of a crowd, like, in case you ever want to be a part of a rally.
Yeah, that's a big one, and also helping to overcome their fear of public speaking, because I do require a project in my class where they have to stand before their peers and present, and they could also help with that.
Oh, awesome. So does incorporating digital, I'm going to start that over. Does incorporating digital media help enhance your courses?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because these days there's a lot of technology, and I don't want to be behind on the times. And to be honest with you, all my students do is they're on their phones. And so obviously that's a big hint to me. Well, hey, maybe we ought to do something with these things, and maybe we ought to get them to use new digital media. And so that's why I really enjoy being down here in the studio and learning new things for them to utilize.
Yeah, it seems like we're like integrating because you were saying like your students are always on the phones. I mean, I'm always on my phone, so we got to like manage something so that they, it's something they can work on with their phones. They can
Right.
actually, but it's also part of the classroom, and it does engage the students. So I bet that helps out in the long run.
And if I may also say, I've had them to use different things that I learned as part of the instructional technology certification program. We've used Mentimeter. I've used Adobe Spark, whether it's the video component or the page component, and I've used that to teach lessons. And it's they looked at it kind of different, like I've never seen this before. What is this supposed to be? But they just went with it. They just went with it, and it worked out.
So you've used Adobe Spark. Do you like it?
I have. I do like it because it's very user friendly.
Mhm.
You don't have to have training in it. It's just something that you put a couple pictures in there, or it's kind of like you can use it like PowerPoint too.
Mhm.
Then you record your voice, and that's it. Press play.
It's like an express version, so you can like pop out a quick thumbnail or a video, or even I haven't messed with the web design, but I heard it was like pretty fascinating from one of the work studies.
Exactly. When I did the Grit Summit, I presented at the Grit Summit. I said, I want to do something different.
Mhm.
So instead of the traditional PowerPoint, instead of using a Prezi or Google Slides, I used the Spark page. And I was able to do that. And it actually worked out pretty good for me.
So my producer wanted me to talk about this new product that College-Tomball is about to be receiving pretty soon, and it's a new lecture capturing system, kind of like just like Camtasia, but it's done by TechSmith and it's called Relay. Have you ever heard of it? Have you had a chance to review this?
I've heard of Relay, and this past summer, I was at the D2L conference, and I understood that Lone Star College was looking for a new product, and I've heard about Relay, but I've not used it yet. But I look forward to having some training in it where I can sit down and understand exactly what it is. Because from what I understand, it is going to replace Camtasia, and it'll help, especially with online classes.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach my fair share of those. And I'm always trying to think of new ways to enhance my online classes and hybrid classes.
So I messed with both Relay and Camtasia. What I like about Camtasia is there's a lot of things you can do in it. You can add like a lot of annotations. You can add a lot of like media graphics. But with Relay, it is very streamlined. Like you can just pop that out in like less than 5 minutes if you wanted to. That is a very easy and express version of a lecture capturing system on your PowerPoint or whatever you're using.
Mm-hmm. So Camtasia, I've used Camtasia recently as last week. And Camtasia, there's a lot that goes with it. And yeah, you're right. It is a very powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
Relay, if and I heard you earlier when you were saying that it's more user friendly. I kind of look forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of look forward to it. Maybe more of us would use it. So,
like from what with Camtasia, it looks like standard like editing program. You have your toolbars and your tabs, but with Relay, it's literally like you just have buttons, and it's like something like you work off of an app. Basically, like I can also talk about Adobe Rush. That's another thing coming out. Like hence the name Rush. Like you can easily throw out a video off your phone with like professional editing, like text to transitions straight off your phone and onto the website in less than 5 minutes. So I guess streamline is basically what we're focusing on, like what's going on in the faculty here in like the Lone Star colleges.
and I would say that's a good thing. There are a lot of faculty I would imagine that want to use the technology, but it takes a long time to learn it and understand it and master it, right?
Mm.
And having something that is user friendly, that doesn't take a long time, and we don't have to come and bother you, Rob, to come help us with it, that will help us to feel a whole lot better. That hey, we don't have to all crowd and multimedia services around Rob and bother him to do this for us. We can learn on our own. Maybe you host a training. Don't forget about us now. Maybe you train us how to use it.
I'll be sure to keep dusting off the old like training and like in
Good.
Camtasia off my little tab.
Good, there you go. So we understand how to use these straightforward programs, and then we'll be able to use it, and the students will be the ones who will be the main beneficiaries.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that we have something that's a little more streamlined. And again, I haven't used Relay, so I don't know if it has all the capabilities or will look as good, but I hope so.
I'm sure. Hopefully, there'll be some add-ons that'll like be like on par with Camtasia. Because with Camtasia and Relay, it's literally like a preference of choice. It's like basically you want to have like McDonald's or Burger King. It's they have the same concept, but they each have their own formula.
Decisions.
Yeah,
Do I want a Big Mac or do I want a Whopper?
Do I want a Whopper?
Yeah.
Okay, so once we talk about like editing, capturing lectures, and but what do the faculty and students do like to go to store these videos? How can basically what I'm saying, how can faculty store these videos and how can students access them? Is there like a thumb drive or a website other than YouTube?
So other than YouTube, well, see, YouTube is the main place for me.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever we do anything with civic engagement media, we had a student last week to do a podcast, and any interview that I've conducted or any student content that is created, we put it all on civic engagement media, and I will in turn a lot of times post it in an announcement on my online classes or in any of my classes on D2L. But other than that, I store the videos on a thumb drive, so I'll still have a copy of it for my records. And in case something happens on YouTube and I can't get to it, then I can put it back up there.
Mm.
But for us with civic engagement and for me in my classes, YouTube is the go-to place. I know students come here and they're really amazed, and a lot of people don't even know that this place is over here. It's kind of tucked away a little bit in a little quiet corner of campus, which is not a bad thing. You got to have some quiet when you're recording. But students are really amazed when they come in and they see the studio and all of the capabilities that are here. And I just think it'd be great if they can be introduced to some of the technologies, and that's a skill that they can take with them, especially in the ever-changing world of technology. It's a skill that they can have and take with them and use.
I know one of our other work studies who's never actually touched multimedia in his life, and he came on here and he learned it like he's like a sponge. He absorbed it so much, and he was able to incorporate it into his classes and real life situations, which I can't. I'm going to sit back and watch wherever he goes because it's going to be interesting.
So how about you, Rob? How did you learn to use all of this stuff? I'm not trying to turn the tables and interview you, but how did you learn how to use all of this stuff?
No. Like, see, like, I'm a Leo and I'm vain and I like to talk about myself. I like to...
Okay.
But basically, I don't... where I started, like, how I'm being able to use these programs is, of course, back in when I was a teenager, like, in mid-2000s. Ooh. I've gotten to that age in my life where, like, saying that I can just feel in the pit of my soul. And I was like, oh no, I should start lying about my age.
Oh, no.
But basically, like, I was able to mess with like I first messed with Adobe Photoshop. Afterwards, I messed with like Premiere Pro, and this was before they were the CS programs. So I've been a computer nerd, basically messing with programs all my life. And whenever I got into when I was a student at College-Tomball, I got to tinker with a lot more, like with After Effects, with Dreamweaver, with I'm trying to remember another program we used to use, but it was like Illustrator. That was another one. And then in U of H, where I graduated from, we also we got hands on with even more products like Motion. That's basically like, you know how you see like Netflix where the like pops up the gogong. Basically that's where I think there's a generator on there where you can create your own title popping up, and it looks exactly like that. So basically, Motion is a title generator, title creator.
I see. Now here's a good question for you. Now remember last week we had a young man in here. He was 9. And he was fascinated with all the equipment and everything.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to someone? And he's a YouTuber.
Yes.
An amateur, very amateur YouTuber. So for those young people out there that want to be a YouTuber and have 1 million followers and so on and so forth, what would you say to them getting started? If all they have is a cell phone or maybe a camera that they can use and upload, and obviously you got to edit the videos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some bloggers, they have the main channel, then they have the vlog channel.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to them on which programs they can use starting out?
So for me, I'm also like an amateur YouTuber in hopes of like maintaining or reaching that 1 million subscriber mark. So I'd like to say that I am a amateur YouTuber as well. I've done it I've done it since I was in high school as well, but I think like when I was trying to do it like my own channel like professionally, it started 5 years ago. And for my advice for those, like for the younger generation, for those getting into YouTube that want to try to pursue this, is to, at least my obstacles, trying to overcome like at least goals and steps to reach a subscriber amount. Definitely number one is don't compare yourself to others. I know it's very hard, or it's hard to try to reach that level, but it's easy to try to like, I'm going to try to make like ASMR videos, or I'm going to try to make a PewDiePie video, or a Markiplier, or even the slow-mo guys. There's even Let's Players it's a genre that is oversaturated, and you always have like the more content you create, the more you'll find out your own little niche, your own little style of formula how to make your videos. It may not come immediately, it may come fast. It depends on how like competitive you are and how creative you are as well. Um, Second is how you want to start out is it's actually pretty easy. I've you looked up online, I've looked up on Reddit, I've looked up on other YouTube videos, and basically the go-to camera is your cell phone. I know it seems strange because when I started out, I used like a Sony little camcorder with like its own little connecting cord, and like the format was so bad. And then one day I decided to use my iPhone, and it was just much better content. Granted, it doesn't have like the capturing capability of a GH5 or one of these Panasonic cameras we have here in the studio, but it gets the job done because basically YouTuber, at least people who watch YouTube, they're not, some of them aren't looking for like quality content you'd see off of like professional television. They just want to see someone being dumb. They just want to see someone in their daily life. They just want to see basically how this person um, shows off their content. And for younger generations that wants to video edit, I know Adobe Premiere programs are expensive if you want to buy them alone. They do have a subscription, but still, that's with regarding price. And I know Windows killed the Movie Maker, from what I believe. But if you have a Mac, it should come with an iMovie program, and that actually has great exporting capabilities. But if you have a PC, I'd like to recommend is I've used HitFilm for 2 years now. HitFilm is like this, it's like Premiere and After Effects slapped together. There are some things you can buy to add on, but it basically has the bread and butter. You can slap your content on there, audio, pictures, edit, and do some transitions, some color correction, and you've got yourself a professional YouTubing video.
Wow, that sounds pretty good, Rob. So since you are a YouTuber,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us watch YouTube videos, and of course we enjoy it. But then there are some who really want to get in it, but they may not understand how much work it takes
Mm.
to do it. So I don't know how many followers you have, and I'm not asking either. But but I have a feeling you'll reach that 1 million one of these days. So don't just keep hope
Appreciate it.
alive. How much work does it take behind the scenes?
How much work does it take behind the scenes? Here, from what I've learned, or at least with what I've messed with, I've seen some videos just well, I'm gonna start that over too. From what I've learned and seen in YouTube videos, basically, it almost seems like even if you put so much effort into one video and you release it, it can probably maybe reach 100 views. You're just waiting for that one video to become viral, and then basically, like your 100,000 subscribers will come back even to your most like crappiest video, and they'll still give it 1 million views. I've done videos to where like I've spent about a month. Okay, basically I made like a parody song. I took the Weeknd Starboy song and I made it off of like this video game Dark Souls parody. I spent about a month like trying to compare the lyrics, trying to match my vocals. I had vocal training because my one of my friends she was in choir, so she gave some training on it. Matching the lyrics, matching the audio, adding some effects, even making the video interactive on YouTube while I made the song. So it took about a month to make, and when I uploaded it, it didn't even reach 100. So I felt like I wasted a bunch of time on that. One of my videos, I spent probably 2 hours making like, just like a dumb joke, and it reached over 100,000 views.
Wow.
So you're basically just waiting for that one viral video just to explode. But even then, it's more like, I guess it's to each their own, because if you just like making content, you just keep popping it out there. Maybe one of them will click. If you really like editing and like perfecting it down to a T, that too can also work. Because I've seen some people, they produce a lot of work on their content, or maybe just like 20 videos, and some people will like just drop them by and they'll say this is pretty well done. Usually they'll produce their work a lot, like they post a lot on social media, like Twitter, Reddit, Facebook. What's another good one that I'm like overlooking? But you get the gist of what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes. So the key sounds like what you're saying is to be yourself on YouTube. You don't, just be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Be yourself. Connect to your You have to connect to your followers. Even if you just have one followers, become their best friend. Like basically, like you just comment them, message them. They'll come back. They'll always like message and comment on your videos, and it just basically grows from there. You'll start getting 10 followers that you'll be your friend, and like they'll come back and comment, and then 10 turns into 100. There'll be moments where it becomes a grind and you'll get burnt out, but it's always good and nice to take a step back, at least for those young viewers out there. It's nice to take a step back, take a breath, maybe play a game or read a book, whatever, and then like hop right back into it just by creating whatever you feel like creating.
Oh, that sounds good. So keep going, those aspiring YouTubers. Keep going. Don't give up. Take a break every now and then, and you will get there. Words from Mr. Rob Abel.
Oh man, I just hope to get one of those. It's a little plaque. It's one of those little trophies. But for some reason, that's one of my goals.
So how many do you have to get the plaque? 100,000?
Yeah, the first plaque is 100,000. That's the little silver one, and then the gold one is the million. I think the platinum is like 10 million. I'm sorry.
Wow,
that's the platinum.
Interesting. Yeah, I've seen them, but I wasn't sure the numbers that you had to have to meet the requirement.
Right.
Okay.
I'd like to first get that silver one. I'll bring it in, parade it around LSC-Tomball.
I don't blame you. You earned it, right? You earned it.
Right. I hope to. At least that's what I'm still aiming at. I'm aiming for that goal. Hopefully,
you'll get there. Gotta promote yourself, plug yourself.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, I think that's about all we have for Media in Mind with talking with you, Patrick. It was great that you came on by. It was great that you gave your input. I'm glad, flipped the conversation around here. We got to talk about YouTube a bit. It wasn't planned, but that was great. I enjoyed that a lot. I'm pretty sure if you want, we can do that again in another podcast. We can talk about, I don't know, maybe you got into YouTube and it's lifting off for you.
Well, it's a slow process, but it's going to get there. But I thank you for having me here, and I enjoy coming down to the studio and working with you guys. And I've been here several times this semester, and even though we don't have long left, you may see me again before it's all said and done. And I just really appreciate you all welcoming me and my students and Civic Engagement Media. And I encourage others, whether you're faculty, whether you're staff, or if you're a student, you just want to pop in and see what's new. Just stop by. It's all for you. It's all for you. And so they're here for all of us. So thank you, Rob.
And that's what we're here for. And thank you so much for dropping on by.
Of course.
Oh, hey, Steven.
Hi.
How'd it go?
I made like all A's because I am a perfect student.
Awesome.
As per usual.
Glowing. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You, the listener, are the reason that Media in Mind will continue to create content to entertain you as well as be informative.
Check out the description box below that includes links and destinations to our previous podcasts. And please be sure to visit the channel and subscribe to LSC-Tomball Multimedia Services if you haven't already. This helps us grow our content and gives you the chance to hear our lovely voices.
Just before we go, we'd like to personally thank Patrick Gilbert for stopping on by and giving us great insights. We'd love to thank our producer, Monty Darlin, as always. We'd like to thank the Multimedia Service Team, the IMAX Studio, for helping us for this platform to create our work, and our website is lonestar.edu/tomball-mms.html.
This is Media in Mind, and we'll see you in front of the camera.